feel burnt out, not in the present moment, or like you just don't have the right work-life balance, then today's episode is for you. I recently had the most beautifully present and vulnerable chat with Tess Brouwer. Tess is one of Australia's leading mental and emotional fitness experts and the author and co-founder of Awake Academy, which she runs with 7-time world surf champ Layne Beachley. They also host the podcast A Wake Up Call, which I definitely recommend tuning into if you haven't already. Tess offers some great insights into living a more authentic life aligned with your values, as well as getting vulnerable about her own journey from burnout to balance. And I must say, it was the first time a guest really turned the table on me and had me looking at my habits and routines from a different lens. I hope that this episode brings something very valuable to your life. Thanks for tuning in today to the Can I Get a Refill podcast. I'm your host, Steph Bruno-Newton. Be sure to jump on my website, www.canigetarefillpodcast.com.au, link to the show notes to download your free 33-page ebook on 7 steps to protect your energy and fill up your cup. You cannot pour from an empty cup, so I've designed a guide to help you take care of yourself in order to up-level your life. Download it today and make yourself a priority in 2026. Okay, let's jump in. Okay. Hello, my cup fillers, and welcome back to the Can I Get a Refill podcast. As just promised, we have a very special guest today. We are talking mental and emotional fitness with Tess Brouwer. Tess, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Steph.
I'm so excited, and I was just telling you off air because I'm an oversharer that if I look like I'm going to keel over, I'm in the worst period of my life. Just feel like this episode, we were talking about our mum life and parenting. So this episode about burnout has just come at a really great time for me personally. So I'm very excited to chat with you today. And I have really been loving your podcast. I was just listening to the one. What's the most recent one you've got out at the moment? About
with Dr. Stacey Sims?
No, the way you talk about giving
reset.
giving yourself permission to rest. And I was just talking about this in one of my most recent episodes, how so many women and mothers just have that guilt, that you shouldn't take time for yourself, which is the whole concept of my podcast of filling up your cup. So it really, really spoke to me, and your whole podcast does. So I feel like I'm very excited for this chat because we get each other on that mum level and the podcast host level as well. But you have a very illustrious career. So could you just start by telling everyone a little bit about yourself and what led you to the work that you do?
Yeah, well, first of all, I really want to say thank you, because it's tools like these podcasts and books and any form of teachings that really help me rebuild my life. I grew up with the carry-on culture, so that's probably why I did have a successful career, because I was the do-it-all machine that, if you had something to be done, you would give it to me. And I would stay behind and I would work hard, and so that's all that was modeled to me, was this theory that the harder you work, the quicker you climb, or the more money you get, or it was quite an ambitious goal of mine. I was never really we're in that same generation where we're not really taught mental skills or emotional skills at school. Certainly not in any form of college that I went to. I didn't go to university, but that was an elective.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're in the corporate world and you're being mentored or led by people who weren't taught it either. They just sort of got promotions because they were really good at the skill set of their job, not necessarily leading people. So I'm a byproduct of all of that. And I had some incredible career opportunities because of that. I worked on the super yachts with billionaires as their head of service and went around the world with them, and that was a 24/7 job. I worked for Virgin for many, many years as their head of brand and sponsorships, which meant I was, in coaches' boxes on weekends, front row fashion festivals, negotiating $1 million sponsorship deals by day, getting entertained by night. It was sort of like the key to the city job. But within that, you begin to form this identity that you are your job. I was Tess from Virgin, and that was an identity that I only had. And you see that play out still in this day, is I feel like we look at ourselves by what we do, not who we are. So the gift that was given to me that didn't feel like a very big gift at the time was I had a skiing accident, and I ignored the symptoms of that. So what did that look like for me is pins and needles in my legs, losing feeling in my feet, in my hands, wetting my pants at work, going and buying new pants, putting them on, just because this carry-on culture was in front of me. And to be honest, Steph, I had a lot of shame around being broken. I had I didn't know that rest was available to me because I was so stuck in my symptoms. And then I went to the doctor. They gave me an anxiety pill and told me to go home. This is in broken English.
I have been
And
told that
I
many
did say,
times
like,
for many
yeah, I
different
know,
things. Yeah.
I know. And as a woman, like, now I tell that story, and the amount of women that I hear, and men, to be honest, that go to a doctor and say, I don't feel well, and they're like, oh, it's chronic stress or it's anxiety, but really there's a
Band-Aid.
big health risk. Or worse, you go there and it actually is chronic stress and burnout, and then you have to, there's no pill you can take. But what ended up happening was I had a severe spinal cord injury in my C5, C6, C7, and I had one surgery in Switzerland. They told me it would be 6 to 8 weeks recovery, which when I got back to Australia, I had to have another emergency spinal operation. So I have a 12 centimetre scar down the back of my neck, and I was in a spinal ward for 3 months. So
How old were you in this accident?
I was 33.
Oh,
Yeah. So while all of my best girlfriends were getting married, engaged, pregnant, sometimes baby too, I was lying in a spinal ward in a neck brace thinking my life
just wanted
is
to feel
totally
well.
over. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was it.
Oh my gosh.
So I ended up having no job, no home, no label, no job. Like, so my identity was lost. And I had to move back home to my parents' house and was under psychiatric care of them because I was a bit of a risk to myself, to be honest, because when the rug is quite literally pulled from underneath you, and there wasn't very many options for me at that time. I know.
What a story, my God. We're going to get into the resilience later in it. But do you, I mean, that's horrible. I'm sorry you had to go through such a tough thing. But do you think that somehow something that drastic needed to happen to have a severe reset? Do you feel like perhaps you were living a life half lived or not really aligned with your true self?
Completely. And I feel like we're all here having a human experience. Like, whether you're religious or not, whether, like, whoever you are, we're not these machines that don't have emotions, that don't have, different stories and journeys. And it's in this, like, there's like this psychological richness is the value of life. And that means experiencing life in all of these ebbs and flows and learning how to work with it as opposed to fight it. I didn't have that. And now when I see someone going through darkness, I mean, there's other things that I just wish upon no one. And, like that there's some horrible things going on in the world. And in that sense, I don't want that to happen to people. But when I see people go through psychological challenges, I'm like, well, this is your growth opportunity. This is the pain to purpose. And I feel like I really had to find myself on the floor, and I couldn't afford endless amounts of therapy, or I couldn't go away to retreats for months on end and walk on hot coals. And I would have loved to have done Tony Robbins, but like I couldn't. I had to find myself in the rawness and the realness of that. But because this episode is about burnout, what ended up happening was I applied my do-it-all, carry-on culture methodology, like the only operating model I had in my internal GPS, into recovery. So I was going to 15 appointments a week. I was seeing like every single different type of modality possible. I was doing a Yale degree in science, the well-being of science and happiness. Like I was just trying to do it all. And then I burnt out.
Yes.
Again.
That's interesting, though. I always say when something huge or bad happens, you sort of go one way or the other. And I think probably because you've got that real hunger of a personality, your hunger was to heal and recover. But that's such a common thread. I quote Louise Hay and Eckhart Tolle constantly. And they both had, Louise Hay was told stage 4 inoperable cancer. Eckhart Tolle had a major, a mental breakdown. I feel like that rock bottom is a really good place to rebuild from.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the rock bottom's easier because there's only one way from. It's more that preempting the rock bottom is what creates anxiety. Sometimes when you're at that rock bottom place, you sort of have hunger to rebuild. But let me ask you, what does mental and emotional fitness look like to you?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one because I feel like what people look, when they say, oh, you're into mental and emotional fitness, like, I go to the gym. Doesn't that count? And
Yeah.
we're in a society that truly does value people's physical appearance and well-being. And it is like, it's the number one nature's antidepressant is exercise. So it's always like my first prescription to anyone. But I would say like mental fitness is how you think and where your attention goes. So it's like mindset, goals, frameworks, understanding your DNA, who you are, like what are your triggers? So having a really clear picture of like who you are. Emotional fitness is really about understanding that emotions are data and their directions, and you have a choice in that moment. So it's about becoming more aware of what is coming up for you and knowing how to deal with that. Now, the science around it is an emotion will last in your body for 90 seconds. So you might feel anger, like we all have experienced anger. It burns from within for me, and I feel it rise up in my body. And there's some incredible MRI machine scans, and they fed someone anger and their whole body goes red. So we're
Wow, it
constantly
measures it.
transmitting this energy at all the time, whether we feel like, you can say I'm fine, but really anger is contagious as well. It spreads,
Yes.
same as stress. So emotional fitness is about learning how to manage those 90 seconds so that it can move through you, because anything else after that is the story we wrap around it.
Okay, because that's what I was just going to ask you. So you've said that the emotion like anger is in there for 90 seconds, but if we're feeling it all day, is it because we're repeating the emotion? You know how they say like, the brain doesn't know the difference between a memory or a made up story as long as you're repeating it in your mind. Is that what it is? We haven't found an outlet to release it, so we're repeating it.
That's right, yeah. And, we get triggered at work or the office, and an email comes through, and our body doesn't know the difference between that trigger being a saber-toothed tiger
It's right.
chasing us or someone stealing something from us. Like, it's still anger, but you can't get up and run. Like, so how do you move through particularly those emotions, because they're the ones that cause you to do most harm to the relationships around you? So how do you get rid of that? How do you process these emotions in the moment and not become them?
Yeah.
And that is the intersection between mental and emotional fitness, is allowing them, seeing them, deciding what they're trying to tell you. Do I need to get up and go outside and take a breath, or can I just do some breath work at my desk? Am I tired? Like, it's all data telling you different signals. And then mental fitness is about knowing what to do next.
I love that. And the journey it's not always like a beautiful picture of like sitting and meditating on a cushion. A lot of it can be uncomfortable, kind of, where you talked about triggers. So perhaps going in and figuring out, some past traumas that are triggering you and dealing with that, right?
Yeah. I from every form of text that I have read, studied, learnt or heard from some of the, biggest mental fitness trainers in the world, growth exists in your discomfort.
Yes.
So becoming not a victim of your story, but a victor. Understanding that your story is not someone else's. What you're feeling is not what someone else is feeling. That the whole world doesn't revolve around you. Like, there's so many elements to mental and emotional fitness that is discomforting. Like, and that's where, and when you unpick that and you unravel it and you learn to sit in the discomfort, sure, it's going to last longer than 90 seconds while you're working through it. But then once you've become aware of it, then when you're triggered and an emotion comes up, you then know what to do with that choice. Because it is a choice. It's a choice to ignore something just as much as it is a choice to be angry at something, just as much as it is a choice to sit there and go, I'm feeling pretty angry right now. Can I have 5 minutes just to process that?
That's real emotional maturity too, isn't it? I think that's something that comes along with age. That's certainly something that
Steph,
learned to understand.
I don't think it comes with age. I've seen grown humans not understand that is a true emotionally aware person, is giving yourself space to ask for time.
Yeah, that's true. I love what you said there about something like you're not the world doesn't revolve around you. That's when I'm feeling really pissy or like really down, I sort of picture like a camera or like reversing out, and then the world being so huge and I'm this tiny, tiny little speck. I always do this thing. Do you remember in The Holiday where the old guy says to Kate Winslet, you should be the star of your own movie? So I very much walk around like I'm starring in my own movie, which I think is important.
You
for
do have main character
self-confidence.
energy.
Love that, putting that in the highlights. But very often, we get caught up in our own story. And if I'm angry with someone, now that I'm more mature, I sit and I see it from their perspective and think, well, what are they going through? What experiences have they had to lead them to think that way? So it's able to, it removes the anger. And when I find compassion, I'm able to get over anything. I do this thing where I've had some horrible exes, as I'm sure we all have. And I even the other day, I had a great workout at the gym, which doesn't happen very often for me now as a mum. So I get really in a good place and I look out at the ocean and I was like, everyone I've dated, everyone who I think has done me wrong, they were doing the best with the tools in their toolkit. And I just released them. And I felt this, I wanted to cry happy tears, like a real, compassion is very important. When you release people of that, you're releasing yourself. That's what I always say. It's like, that thing of like drinking poison and hoping someone else will die. Like that you're holding on to something for someone that might not even remember you. So I love doing those exercises where I forgive people and just release it.
But you know what you're really doing in that moment is you're forgiving yourself.
Yes.
And that was a huge part of my journey is I had to forgive myself for all of the right and the wrong decisions that were right or wrong in my mind, because that's all that matters, for everything that I did and I didn't do, for not getting help earlier. There were so many things that I realized that I had been self-sabotaging myself my whole life and putting band-aids across my emotions and trauma, to be honest. Like I would feel bad and have a drink. And look, I really do love a spicy margarita and I am no saint, but I am becoming more and more aware the less and less I drink of when I've had a bad day, how much my default response is, I can't wait just to have a drink, or, I'm just going to put something on Netflix and zone out. Like there's so many defaults that I had realized, or online shopping, that I had just been placing these band-aids over my life. So the true art is catching yourself in that moment and saying, like, what am I doing this for? Like, and it sounds like you did that in the gym, is like, there is, like, why am I holding on to this resentment or anger? It doesn't serve me. So shedding it.
Well, you mentioned a key word earlier in the episode, shame. And I find that shame is the lowest frequency. You cannot be healthy. You cannot be successful with shame. And I do find that, a lot of that is going through and forgiving yourself and owning your story. Like I used to, simple things like hide if I made a mistake. And now I own things because we're human. It's okay. It's okay to stuff up. Before we move on, I want to mention something I read the other day, which I actually really agree with. I found so fascinating that men, I can't word it properly, but the anger manifests outwardly for men and inwardly for women, or not just anger, sort of the negative emotions. So women might be people pleasers, have burnout, or might have, addiction to things, whereas men will be violent. And I was like, that actually makes a lot of sense to me. I do find that I go inward a lot and self-sabotage.
Yeah, it's funny. Everyone's so at the moment obsessed with differentiating between men and women. And there's so many divisive, there's so many, like I know so many men that hold it in, like they're in this like that 45 to 55 age group for men is like the most dangerous time for a man, because it's the highest suicidality rate, because all of a sudden you're ticking all the boxes and you've been holding it in, all of your anger, fear and trauma, because you've been told, don't let it out, mate, like you'll be right.
Yeah, that's true. But
I do feel that anyone that suppresses anything, like, anger is not a bad emotion, but it turns bad when you letting it out on other humans or things. So I agree, but I also I hold that very gently, because I'm like, I know so many people pleasing men.
No, that's true. And labeling's dangerous, black and white's dangerous. I do preach that a lot. So that's going against my
But the interesting thing is I was a people pleaser like you, and I applied that to healing as well. So I needed to be fine. I needed to be okay. But truly, I honestly was like dying on the inside. And I think I'd applied that, well, I feel like I've applied that to my whole life, is like not being a burden. So I would mask up.
Not to put people out. Yes.
Mm,
Yes.
yeah.
That's definitely the people pleaser. I've
Yeah,
always had that.
totally.
Like, I don't
Yeah,
want
so
to.
that was a huge unraveling for me.
Yeah, because I always spot there's two people in a queue or in the road, and it's one person is, oh, sorry, you go through, you pass. I hate holding people up. Like if someone's getting out of the car and there's a car, and then
Yeah.
there's people that just don't give a shit. And my life goal is to be the people who don't don't get so flustered if they're holding someone up for 1 second. So
And then you get the angry person who just charges right through, right?
exactly. That's my goal. Maybe in my next life I'll have long legs and not be a people pleaser.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And that's like, I always look at the people who just like walk through life blissfully, not needing, like in contentment. But I don't believe that nirvana exists, because I have seen the science on this psychological richness, that the more spectrum you feel, obviously not hysteria and, but the more richness you feel in your emotions and things that happen to you, the better the quality of your life. And
so agree with that. I always say, I feel things so deeply, so it can be the best thing or it can be the worst. But I love that I always say I tap into my childlike personality very easily. So things like Christmas and that bring me so much joy that other people just, So I feel like it's a wonderful thing. And when it hurts me, I get over it. You know what I mean? So I always say after breakups, it's fine. I get over things. So I've always happy to dive back into the next one, because I'm like, if I get upset, I know I can recover.
Yeah.
It is a rich life.
It is. And as Buddha says, like, best you don't start, but if you do, don't stop. And
I love that.
so that is the true art of unlearning and unlearning yourself.
Yeah.
Is that it never ends. And I work in this space because, like you, Steph, I have a big range of emotions. I have lots of trauma. I need this in my life, and I am very far from perfect. I've just learnt so many tools that help me, and that has been my mission, and my goal is to turn my pain into purpose by helping people help themselves.
Yes, I heard you say that in your podcast this morning, and it's so true. But even something like as simple as doing this podcast, now I'm not accredited with anything, but it's a healing journey for myself and for listeners, because it's so important to have these conversations and give people permission to feel and heal. It's very powerful.
Yeah, truly is. And I wish more people talk about it, because I like to say a happy home is a regulated home, or a emotionally regulated home is a happy home, and healthy, because it's okay. There's lots of arguments in our house. Like, we've got 3 teenagers, a toddler, so 4 toddlers, and lots of dynamics and moving parts. But to be able to sit in it and not become it is truly a gift. And my husband and I are constantly calling each other up in those moments to do it better. Because that's all you can do, right? You get it wrong. Just because you're a human, an adult human, doesn't mean you get it right all the time. So it's all for us. I'm just constantly like trying to regulate in the moment so that I don't show up a mess.
Yeah, but isn't it so important to have a partner like that you can have those conversations with? I love how Brene Brown discusses things with her husband, how they'll be like, they check in and she goes, I'm at a 20, where are you at? He's like, I'm at a 60. I got this. You go. I love that, like checking in with each other. Like, I'm getting my husband there. He grew up in a footy culture, so talking emotions is very, very uncomfortable for him, but we're slowly getting there. In a culture that glorifies hustle and burnout, what are some micro resets we can do to avoid burnout?
Okay, so I'm going to talk from my perspective, because burnout for lots of people is so many different things. It can be silent, it can be loud, it can be like resenting underneath you, and 70% of Australians are burnt out right now. So that's a pretty big spectrum. And we also have a fear of burnout brewing. So people are fearful of it, and as you've alluded to a couple of times, is what you resist persists.
Yes.
So I feel like burnout is us trying to do everything, like, so all the modalities, without actually learning how to take micro breaks or learning how to regulate our nervous system. And I know this because I've seen it in the science. We've been taught to carry on to push through. We've taught that resilience is just being able to get up when you're down, not listening to the signals of the body. And that to me is a bit of a paradox as well, because resilience is at the top of, what do you want? A resilient workforce, a resilient family. But what is resilience? Like, is it sometimes when you're down, you need to be down. You need to give your body that time to, I say, the permission to pause, not try and get everything sorted out in January, and to give your body time to regulate and process the last year, because it was quite an emotional one, particularly towards the end of it as well. So yeah, I feel like it's burnout to me, and what prevents it is it's micro stress that's built up over time. And the best way I can describe it to people is like, you have these peaks and troughs on mountains. When burnout exists is when the peaks you're always on peaks. You're never giving yourself time to come down the mountain. Now, sometimes it's going to be a short descent and you need to go back up again, but at least you came down again. And how do we do that in everyday life? It's taking micro breaks throughout the day. So our body only really needs, I think it's now for every 90 minutes, you need between 90 seconds and 3 minutes to decompress. So not back to back to back. For me, that looks like going outside, getting a sunshine break, having a big glass of water with a big crack of salt, and just closing my eyes. We live in this culture where we can recharge our phones, our computers, like everything needs to be recharged, but we don't put that focus on ourselves. Like, we've become these like AI replacement machines that just go, go, go. And if there's one thing that's going to beat us over AI, like humanity over AI, it's connection and self-love.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yes.
for me, it's like, it's really about giving people permission to stop and ask for the break, not eat lunch at their desks, remove phones from the dinner table, or for any moment of connection, get them away, and smartwatches, so that you become present and you begin to see more joy and hear people, not just wait to listen to how you're going to respond to that. And when you get a few of those bits in play, like having a space between work and home to reset you, so that when you walk in the door, you can decide how you want to show up. People are like, well, I don't have kids. It's like, well, your dog needs a walk, your cat needs a cuddle, like, or you can read a good book. But except we go home and we plug in again to social media, screens, all of these things. So it's about learning how do we actually stop and restore, so that we can come back. And this is called, you've got, how do you fill up your cup? I like to say, fill your cup with abundance and you pour with joy.
Oh, I end every Christmas card with, I hope your new year is full of joy and abundance. Every word you have said in this whole thing is so speaking my language. Don't know if you can tell me biting my tongue as I want to jump in, because I'm agreeing with everything you say.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it is that's why I loved your current episode so much. It's like women need, we don't want to say genders, but sometimes people need that permission to take time, but you don't need permission. It is so what you should be doing as a human. And I, about 6 months ago, left the 9 to 5 to do my own thing, and I'm mainly parenting at the moment too. But I used to always work a desk job 9 to 5, and I swear when I say I was absolutely one of the only people that would get up and take a lunch break. So very often I would eat at my desk, purely because I worked in Double Bay. You're in Sydney?
Was for many years. So you worked in
Okay, so Double Bay's lots of beautiful trees, lots of nice water. So for half an hour, I would go for a 30-minute walk on the dot. And I know, because when I was pregnant, it got 5 minutes longer each time, because I was getting slower and slower. And then I would work for 1 hour and then walk around the block for 5 to 7 minutes. As soon as it got to every hour, I'd get up and walk around, because my brain can't even focus for more than an hour. And my husband does that Pomodoro method. I think you work.
That's what it is. Yeah, the 90. Yeah.
So I always felt well. Like, I would come home and not feel burnt out. And a lot of the girls would just work all day, being back to back to back to back meetings. And I just don't know how you can feel physically well like that. For me, I can't. I don't know if I burn out quicker than others.
Yeah, and that's why leadership in this space is so important, is about like creating healthy ripple effects within homes or work cultures. And we train a lot of leaders. So we work with KPMG, Coles, Colonial First State Bank, so some really big players.
Yeah.
And like we're looking for like productivity, happiness, like employee retention, like all of these metrics are really important. What is so incredible is the science of happiness and well-being and thriving is coming out now, that teams that do take care of themselves in the micro moments, like eating lunch away from the desk, taking micro breaks, having distractions away from them and being present in meetings, actually increases productivity by 25%, increase sales by 37%. So the lunch run is actually a performance metric.
Yeah,
And
right.
when we start to do more of that, our teams are happier and healthier with each other.
Yep.
And then that increases happiness within the workforce. And then obviously you're going to see a profit increase from that. So the science is so incredible when you look at it from that perspective. Because people, like if I said to you when you were in Double Bay, hey, if you're going to take this break every 90 minutes and you're going to do your walk and eat healthy, and then you'll get a job promotion at the end of it, you're going to do it, right?
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
a win-win.
Yeah, exactly. And the byproduct of a happy, healthy human is they get job promotions, they have lower immunity, they're healthier longer, and they get more money, which is like, why don't we do that more often? And it's just because it's not a magic pill.
Topsy-turvy in the workplace, isn't it? But you're right, it comes down to leaders. I love Ariana Huffington and Sarah Blakely from Spanx. They have a really great work culture, and they're very much, like about not paying people for the hours, so to speak, but the results and the work, and allowing people to, like Ariana Huffington has those resting pods where you can take naps. And
Yeah.
with my Italian background, I'm a real napper. The siesta in the day is right up my alley, so I love that. But there's something else that you mentioned that I loved so much, and it's something that I realized years ago I didn't do, and I've been working on a lot, even though sometimes in the podcast I jump in and chat, so it seems like I don't do that. But it's that really listening to people and not waiting for your turn to talk. When you're talking to people and their eyes glass over, and I'm mid-sentence and I'm like, you're not hearing a word I'm saying. You're just thinking about what you're going to say next when you see that. And Jack Black was recently asked who was his favourite co-star, and he said Kate Winslet, because she looked into my soul when we were talking. He said there was so much presence there. And I truly feel that it's the biggest gift and the most respect that you can show someone you're with. And that's why if I go out to dinner with a friend, the rule is phones are not allowed. They are in the bag on silent. It's just, that's the most respect you can show someone, is your presence.
100%. And it's a rule in our family, phones in the drawer at dinner. And even last night, you guys, and I can't jump into the conversation and start being a mental fitness coach and saying, if just by having it on the table reduces your cognitive function by 25%.
Because I do say that if I see it, I feel the need to reach for it.
That's right. And it's
if it's
very
in the bathroom,
unnatural,
I don't think about it.
that something this big holds our medical diagnosis, all of our family photos. Like if I walked in here with a wheelbarrow and set it up, it just wouldn't be natural. So it is actually another performance metric, but your presence, like you never know the true meaning of a moment until it becomes a memory. And when you're not present because you're somewhere else or in a screen. Like I just went on holiday with my husband and son Benji, and I deleted social media, hid my inbox, and had a social media free 7 days. I noticed that even though I wasn't on social media, I was taking photos because I wanted the memory. But like I had this beautiful evening on the beach, and my husband got out the camera and he was filming Benji and I actually walked up to him, and as much as I love that he has the camera, because as you know, getting a man to getting your husband to take the photo. Take the fucking photo. I just said, can you just put it away? Like it's getting too much for me now. And so I'm very conscious about that as well, is like how much do we need the photo for it to be a memory as well? Because then you're focusing on that, not that. So yeah, that's where I'm really trying to become more present, is just maybe being a bit more like Kate Winslet and really like listening with 2 ears and 1 mouth.
It's such a beautiful quality. There's something else that you touched on in your recent episode that is really speaking my language, about you show up as a better mom, wife, friend, sister, daughter when you take that time for yourself. And that's it's just like you're literally benefiting everyone when you take time for yourself. So it's a non-negotiable, taking time for yourself. And that's something I do a lot, like taking the gaps throughout the day for myself. But the one thing that I'm trying to break is overpopulating my diary, because end of the day feeling like I've failed. And I'm like, I haven't failed. I've literally put 2 days worth of work on one day's diary. I do this all the time. I'm like, I'll try and fit that in, and then it gets to the end of the day. If I haven't ticked it off, I feel that I've failed. So I'm trying to leave gaps in the diary and just not fill up everything. You know, like
What's your story around failure, Steph? Like, it sounds like you're getting a lot done. Why is that a failure?
I'm sure if it's because I was in performing arts. I was in dancing since I was very little, and a lot of my performing arts friends are like that, because you know, you're only good when you got that shelf full of trophies. You know what I mean? Like,
right. So the to-do list is your trophy room.
I was always, you know, when you come home and your dog will grab its toy to show you? I was that kid. I was run, and, you know, if your parents would come home, look at the report card I got, look at the thing I won, it's like my worth is tied up with my achievements.
Right.
And that's something that I'm trying to
And you were rewarded that by your family too? Like,
just everyone. Like, yeah. But they wouldn't have cared if I did nothing. You know, if we sat on the trampoline and ate watermelon, like, my mum would still have enjoyed my company. I truly think it's me. I don't know, but there is something there, and I think that's probably why I struggled a little bit with motherhood, because I'm like, there's so much I want to do and I can't. But then I love the days where I do nothing and blank out my diary to be present with my son. It's like I'm gifting myself time that I never allowed myself before. So yeah, that's something I've got to work out in some shadow.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to unpack. Of it, like, redefining success is something.
Yes, I
talk to a lot of corporates about. Like, is success having all of the money but being, you know, burnt out, tied up, and logged on to achievements, or is the new luxury being calm, caring, having enough, and being happy within your enoughness? Yeah. That actually, true success is being present, having inner peace, and taking control of your diary to give you rest breaks. Like that, it's a redefinement of success for me. What you're looking at.
You're spot on, because when I sit down and picture my ideal life, if I do like mind movies, it's not like things and accolades and holidays. It's not rushing, because I feel like I've always rushed, and it's feeling calm, like walking around, not looking at my watch thinking I've got to hurry up and do something. It's just feeling, because when I picture my future self, she's very calm. She's not in a rush. She just feels very comfortable in her skin. So I'm not to say that I don't now, but that's something that you know how women always do that thing where they're rushing like they're being chased, like even cleaning, and then I'm like, oh, no, I don't have to brush my teeth that quick. I can slow down. So to me, success, is definitely a holistic thing. And I always say that to my husband. What's that line where don't be so busy chasing a living that forget to have a life? So these are the days we're in the joyous moment with our son. So let's, you know, so I think sometimes there's a part of me, I always say this, that has secretly sabotaged seeming career success, because I think it means that we'll be busier, and I don't want to see my husband less, or, you know, for us to have less time together. So it's definitely a holistic thing. And I agree with you that there are a lot of people with monetary success, but are they healthy? Do they have healthy relationships? At what cost? Yeah.
And to anchor in on your what is success and why we take breaks and build our diary around that, is from a biology standpoint, what these breaks do is remind your body that it's giving signals of safety. So we talk about emotional safety and mental safety, is letting your body know that you're not getting constantly chased by tiger / news / whatever's replaced. And that's like, when people start to understand the science or the theory, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Because otherwise we're just bombarding ourselves all the time. And for you, I would be really keen to look at your story around stillness. Like, why is that not safe? And often for me, being still meant I had to actually like feel or process my feelings, because you're smart, like and you get it, and you're very informed. And that was like me. My therapist said to me, you get it. Like, stop reading the books. Stop listening to the podcasts. I want you to go home, run a bath, and just fucking scream and cry and get it out.
Tess, there's something that I said in my end of the year episode was in 2026, I'm not going to source external support. I'm going to go into it because I feel like I know what I need. I know the answers to things. You can flood your brain with education, but sometimes you just need to feel things.
Yeah.
Totally agree. I do a thing now where I drive and scream.
Good.
Like,
yeah.
that feels great.
We have a book which is all of the tools that I did. And so my business partner, Layne Beachley, she has often said that she wasn't the most skillful surfer in the water, but she had the mental fortitude to get her through every setback, every failure, every world title. And we put all of the tools together that had served us into a course that did really well, and we trained lots of people, but now we've got it in a book format as well. And now we have monthly coaching called the Awake Collective, because it's like giving someone a book, they might read it or they might not. Giving someone a course, they may complete it, they may not, but actually holding people accountable to doing the self-work so they've got pen and paper is where we found the best cut through, because otherwise we just intellectualize theory and learning and self-work rather than getting into it.
No, I totally agree. And that's why the books where you have to stop with pen and paper and reflect on your own journey, I feel I get more out of it. Otherwise, it's just sort of entertainment, where it sort of goes a bit one ear and out the other. Anyone who's a regular listener of my podcast will hear me talk about boundaries a lot, but I always say no is a complete sentence, but I specifically talk about saying no without apology or explanation. Can you talk us through the science of saying no and how boundaries can lead to a healthier, happy life?
Okay, so again, another controversial spin on this. It's not controversial, actually. It's just my understanding of the science is how you treat yourself is how others will treat you. So if you're saying no, if you're setting yourself up a boundary or a framework to live to, like I'm going to exercise every day, I'm not going to drink, whatever it is, whatever framework or boundary you put up against your own well-being, if you're breaking that, or if you don't want to go to an event and you go because you feel like you should for someone else, but at what cost? Like you're going to be more tired and show up depleted. If you break your self-trust and your own self-boundary first, then people will break yours. We know that happiness, one of the number one indicators of happiness is connection. And there's there's a Harvard study around that. Everyone talks about it on their podcasts, but where I'm compromised in that because you have to be able to connect with yourself first before you can connect with others. So self-boundaries are self-connection. And I realized in my journey of boundaries, I realized just how much I would sabotage my own needs to meet someone else's. So saying no to, no is a full sentence to yourself. Do you want a full block of chocolate? No. Do you want to go to this event tonight? No. Or do you want to, go on this adventure? No, not now is a good one. It's I'm not feeling it right now for myself. So when you start learning that for yourself, it becomes easier to say, no, not now to someone else, or no, not me, someone else can go instead of me. And having that empowerment from yourself means that you get very comfortable at saying no because you're honoring who you are first.
Honoring who you are. That's what it comes down to. And you're spot on. I feel like when you say yes to others, you're not leaving space for yourself. So, I'll have some people in my life who'll be like, well, why can't you catch up here and catch up there? And I'm like, because what's left for me, or what's left for just quiet time with my husband and my son? So I can't fill up all my time. I always say I'm an extroverted introvert. I recharge in solitude, and I can't even do back-to-back. So Christmas was tough because it was Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day. And it's I really need time to reset and just shut down and reboot. And when I say yes to others, I'm saying no to Steph. And then I get resentful. And actually, you touched on this on your podcast too. And people might not understand why you're feeling resentful towards them, but it was really your fault not having the clear boundary or respecting your boundary in the first place. And the last person I want to disappoint, I've realized, is myself. That's the disappointment I never get over. When I've let myself down, I'm saying I'm valuing someone else over myself. And no one should do that.
Yeah. I have a friend who's really good at setting boundaries around her family because they need time for their kids to decompress. And because that's the other thing, we say yes and then we drag our kids to events that they don't want to be there, then they melt down and their time, like sleep time and routines out. Like there's just so many other layers to what you're overcommitting to. But she says that doesn't work for us tonight.
Mm. Yeah.
And that, like, Layne and I teach people to say, like, no, not now. It just doesn't work for us.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you for the invite. And then, but what you fill that space with is really important. So then, like, what is it that you're going to do in that time that you've saved for yourself? We work with couples a lot, and there's this dynamic between overbooking the weekends and wanting to rest and recuperate. And
who are you? Which one are you in the relationship?
I'm like the scheduler. I like to plan events and things. I'm getting so much better at just doing one thing really well rather than five, tiny bits. So that's been a big growth for me. My husband loves saying, "Follow the whisper of the wind."
I love that.
And so Sundays are our Whisper of the Wind day. And I don't allow us to do chores.
Oh, I love that.
We have become obsessed with Sunday being the prepping day for the week, but it's really a being day to enjoy life. And what are we prepping for? Back to work again? Like, I understand, like, I run a home. I understand the need to prep, but Monday is like all hands on deck. It all happens very fast Monday morning. But it allows Sunday to just, sometimes we'll just go for a drive and wherever we end up, we end up. So our boot is always full of things, but it's really fun just to surrender to it.
Those things are always more joyous. I was always an over planner. I'm a planner. I don't like last minute things, but the last minute things are always the most fun. You come home and you feel like your cup's really full, and that's definitely something I'm working on the one day a week, because when you do your own businesses, it's very different. I said this in a previous episode. When I worked for someone else, at 5 p.m. the laptop shuts and that was it. But when it's your own thing, you got to post on socials and around 7 p.m. So I'm always on, and I don't want my son to see me with my face down on a device all the time. So I make sure that one full day I do nothing. It might be Saturday, but it's usually Sunday as well.
Yeah.
So just
and
so much
Thursday
presence.
is my day off from work, and I have this like deep ambition to be a trad wife sometimes, like a traditional wife that bakes sourdough and is a home mum. Like, to be honest, I wear an Oura ring and I am more stressed parenting than I am presenting in front of 400 people. It is such a full-on job.
Yes, you are preaching to the choir. I completely agree. Yeah.
My Thursdays are where I like bake the cookies and do all of that. So I'm like allowing myself to have those moments, but they're not full-time moments. And that helps me release the guilt. Yeah. But Sundays, like, you want to get caught in the rain having fish and chips. Like, it is just like, that is the joy of being and life. So they're like, so you schedule spontaneity. And I'm like, yes, I do.
I schedule spontaneity. I'll blank out my diary of fun.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah. I love that. You started this topic with the most interesting point that I wholeheartedly agree with, that how you treat yourself mirrors how other people treat you. I have said this for years, and I had abusive relationships, one incredibly violent, very harmful relationship many years ago. I left in 2010. And it is wholeheartedly the perpetrator's fault. However, and again, this is Louise Hay taught me this, she goes, how you have to look at how you're contributing to it. So Steph now is just not on the radar of men like that, because I treat myself with so much respect. But Steph years ago went along with things. So I think it's very important. It's not just how your relationship is with yourself, that's what you're allowing others. So it's so, so crucial to have a look at how you treat yourself. You're bang on. I completely agree with you on that.
Love that, Steph. And why jumping from relationship to relationship can be really dangerous. Like,
yes.
To having therapy and to work out how you got there in the first place, like,
yes, because I had good year gaps after that between. I had one more not so great relationship after that, but year gap in between to really sort of that self-discovery. And
what did you learn? What was the one? What was like the main thing you learned about yourself during that journey of growth through? And I'm really sorry you went through that level of violence.
Thank you. that I often speak about there's only two acceptable responses to me talking about thing, and why did you stay so long is not one of them. The only two acceptable responses are, I'm sorry you went through that and good on you for finding the courage to leave. Because I always talk about it's not like no one gets hit on the face on the first date. It was 6 months of working on me mentally and breaking me down. And that it's very common with loud girls like me. You'd be surprised. People think it's quiet girls, but it's more that they're attracted to that butterfly and they want to put it in a little box and keep it just for themselves. It's like a Stockholm syndrome thing. So I can't put it into one sentence what I learned about myself. I feel like there's so much I learned about myself, but it was very much the Dorothy clicking her ruby heels 3 times. The strength was always within me, and I just needed to honor her. And it was sort of through, external things of hypnotherapy and therapy and meditation that I found her again. But it was just honoring the self. I wasn't honoring her. I didn't know who I was. So, yeah. But I very much have I know myself better than anyone else, and I think you should. I think that's the number one relationship that you should always treat most sacred. Even now as kids, I always say, I love my son more than anything in this world, but that doesn't mean that I don't matter. Like I very much value myself just as much as I always have.
Yeah. Yeah, in all of my presentations, one of my first slides is a picture of me eating ice cream as a really young girl. And like I say, like I'm standing here in front of you as the young girl eating ice cream because we all are her or him or they. Like, and all of us just want to be seen, heard, valued, and loved. But that has to come totally from within. So it makes sense to me why your diary is always full and you don't like being still, because that stillness was quite dangerous for you.
I feel like I'm going to cry with you just saying that. Yes, that makes sense. And maybe I also feel like I lost so much life that my whole 20s, I can't look at a photo of myself in my 20s. Like, it was just in 2 5-year relationships that were just so, I was put in a little box, like you're almost imprisoned. So I feel like there is. And then my best friend died at 23. So I have this, it was a car accident, but I have this thing like, there's no time to waste. Must fill every single moment with something.
Yes. Yeah, it totally makes sense. And like, I want to acknowledge you in that. It would be like time is a bit scarce almost for you.
Yeah.
I would really look at doing that inner work to release her from that cage and to feel that safety in the stillness. And that I had to do that on a different front. I wasn't in a DV relationship, but I had spent years running from the truth of my trauma. And when I got still is when it would come up. So I would get really good at being very busy. But self-work is busy.
But I also don't believe in grading trauma. Trauma is trauma. If it matters to you, it matters. So
totally. So please know that we're like, what a powerful voice you are for many women who are going through this. It's 1 in 4 at the moment. And Layne and I do a lot of work with men because we realize like that means that there's a lot of men out there who have secret lives behind closed doors, and women too, but the numbers stack against men a lot more.
Agreed.
But unhealed people hurt people.
Absolutely. And the
whether
work
it
you
be
do
physically
is very important for that.
Or mentally.
Absolutely. Can you please talk us through the happiness formula and what science says will actually make us happier?
Well, I touched on it earlier. I've researched this. I've done a Yale course. I'm a practitioner of positive psychology and wellbeing. There are so many metrics that talk about happiness, and the Harvard study talked about like the number one factor was connection to those around you, and not having lots, but having like five really good people, or just one, in fact. But where I look at this in a happiness formula is it's about having self-worth, self-love, and self-care so that you can be present, so you can connect with yourself and connect with others around you. And that to me is the missing piece of that data, is learning to love yourself, warts and all, that you can truly look in the mirror. And that's where I got the moment I looked in the mirror, and this is my turn to cry, and truly said to myself, like, I love you and I forgive you, and learnt to love myself. And that meant what I fueled my body with, what I filled my cup up with, all of those wonderful things, how I treated my self-talk and became like allowing myself to feel again, because that is love, self-love. When I did that, then my husband, now husband, appeared. And I had this mantra to myself, like, I am sunshine. And I used to say that to myself every single day, even when I was like still not feeling my legs. Like I had to get up and go, like, and see the sunrise and just remind myself like why I was living. And I used to say to myself, I am sunshine, I'm sunshine. And then when I met my now husband, we walked into each other and I noticed him looking at me and he said to me, who are you? You are sunshine. Yeah.
Bumps. I love that. What a story.
What
See
a
that?
story.
Because how you saw yourself then
That's how I
projected
saw
outwardly. I agree with everything there because I've had the same thing. The mirror work, first of all, so powerful. Telling yourself you love yourself to the mirror. Again, a
Yeah.
Louise Hay tactic. It's so confronting, but it is so powerful. But it was
Yeah.
the same thing. Once I stopped looking for the one, started loving myself and working on myself, my very healthy in himself now husband appeared maybe 2-3 months later. And I was like, it's not coincidence. I wouldn't have been on his radar when I wasn't loving myself. So he was
Yeah.
like, oh, she's got a good vibe. And then, yeah, so true.
Yeah.
It works so well, doesn't it?
It really does. And same too to my husband. We were both kind of healing in our healing journey, and we both wouldn't have been attracted to each other by any means. And he came with so much baggage. Like I had to move to the country and take on 3 stepkids in the middle of COVID, mind you. But when he saw me, like, and I saw him and we just hugged and that was it. Like it didn't immediately kick off, but I knew that I'd found home in someone because I found home in myself first.
Yes.
And
I love
even
that.
on our book is the sunshine.
Oh, that is beautiful. I will link that book in the show notes and I'm definitely going to buy myself a copy as well.
Yeah.
I'm so behind and all my guests have their own books, so I'm speed reading so much to get through them all, but that's
Yeah.
so beautiful. But that's true. That's what a healthy relationship is, isn't it? It's two wholes coming together to share their journey together. It's not like one completing the other. So
Yeah.
it's like a formula. Once you get it.
You do not complete me. I complete myself and then I'll find you.
Yes. You touched on your injury before and it was such a major life setback. Do you want to tell the listeners what resilience looks like to you?
Yeah, there's this interesting study around post-traumatic growth, and we've all heard that term. And for me, it was really like evident. I went through the hospital experience with 2 boys, Alex Noble, who's written a really good book called I Fight, You Fight, and he was 16 at the time and he became a full quadriplegic, and Harrison, who was, had a lower spinal cord injury, so he was a paraplegic. And we were like brothers and sisters in that spinal ward and helped each other through so many different moments. And a few months ago, I sent them both a text message and I said, like, would you go back? Like, knowing what you know now, knowing who you are now and all the lessons and all the life, would you go back to who you were if it meant you could walk again? And both of them said no. I'd rather have this richness of mindset and life and understanding of who I am if it meant I never had to walk, if I never could walk again. And that to me is just such... The true definition of resilience is learning how to change that adversity into a life story and doing the best with it. And it's about 96% the science, like most people will use it to help them to move forward. So that's a promising statistic. But adapting to change is all we can be as humans. And I have to say, I love myself. I am who I'm meant to be now more because of it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's like I knew she was there all along, but I never let her come out because I wanted her to be someone else. So, yeah, what you're seeing now is like the true form of me, almost 40. Like I'm 40 in a few weeks, and like you become really reflective in those moments. And I'm like, how grateful I am to be sitting here doing this now.
Reflective is a nice state. I do that like all day. I'm busy, and then my favorite time. Mornings used to be my favorite time. Now it's just before sleep. I read to my son, then he nods off, then I read, and then I just look out the window And the trees, and I'm so full of gratitude. I sort of reflect on everything I've got, and it's just the nicest way to go to sleep. Reflective
Yeah.
is a nice way to be, isn't it?
Yeah, it's my end
And
of night practice with my husband on that fill your cup with abundance. Is we always end every night with what are you grateful for and why. The why is important because it anchors you in the energy. But yeah, it's our nightly ritual.
yeah, because it changes the chemistry in your body. Like you feel it, don't you? It sinks in. I used to
Yes.
work in a very boring desk job, and I used to do what I called the Thanksgiving Day game. And I'd be like, okay, what are you grateful for? And it'd just start with trivial things like I was always grateful for Nutella. My friend was always grateful for the beach. But it would go on for 10 minutes. By the end of it, the energy in that room was so lifted. It was like a boring call center job. The energy was so lifted because we physically pictured the happy things, and then we got into that state, that emotional
Yeah.
state. It's very powerful, isn't
It
it?
is so powerful. And for you, Steph, like that takes courage. Like it for us, our kids call us the weird parents because we host like well-being sessions at home, which is like meditation ice baths and
Yes.
everyone coming over for that. And they're like, oh, you guys are so weird. But they're in there doing it. Or like if you're doing gratitude or highs or lows or even
Yeah.
buffaloes at the table, you've got it like it to be an activator is really like what are people thinking or like and you've got to suspend all of that to
And
then let the magic arise of reflection.
if Leo grows up and calls me a weird parent, I will wear that with a badge of honor.
Yes,
I hope to always be weird. The
me
best people in
too.
the world are weird. Lady Gaga taught us that.
Yeah.
Look, it sounds like you are exceptionally good at filling up your cup, but tell me, what is something you'll be doing in the next week to fill up your cup?
Well, I am being very conscious of managing my dopamine. So, keeping my phone away, not being on social media in the mornings or nights. I'm setting a timer where at between 11 and 12 I can look at it, do my work, schedule posts if they need to so that I'm not on it at night. So
Great.
that's a big one. And instead of that, which is again the brain prefers to keep comfortable. So if you've only ever done that, it will keep you doing comfort, even though it's discomforting. So the brain, you need to give your brain something else. So instead of that, I'm going to be in nature. So I've just, believe it or not, downloaded this. I have so many birds in my house, like around where I live, and I've downloaded a bird. So I am going to sound really obscure right now, but I want a different hobby that makes me look at nature. So I'm going to start monitoring what birds I see and with the family and getting the family involved in that. So that is going to be my new quest this week is just to seeing how many birds we can find in our home.
Oh, I love that. You're going to turn into the Marsh Girl from Where the Crawdads Sing, and I love that.
I don't know what that reference is. Apparently I'm a Twitcher now.
No, but nature, it is always nature. It's always, always, always the answer. And I definitely do that more. I always reference that I have this yard that I never went in. And now with my son, I'm in there 3 times a day and barefoot and feet in the ground or just, but I always went for nature walks. And I'm the girl that stops and not just hugs the trees, but I share energy with the tree. I put my hand on it. I shake the branches and I'm like, hello, tree. I'll do it in front of people. It's like my badge of honor that I'm the weird tree girl. But I come home with the fullest cup. I just think that there's something just so magical that humans will never replicate what nature has. So the ultimate cup.
Well, we're part of it. We just destroy it most of the time. So if we can work with it and be part of it, then that's a good place to start. But yeah, I'm with you. Let's go hug some trees, hey?
Yes. Yes, I've enjoyed our chat so much. I knew I would. You know, when you're like, I feel like we're going to have some similarities and be on the same wavelength.
Yeah. How are you going to fill your cup up this week, Steph?
Oh, that's a good question. The technology thing. What you said made me have a light bulb moment in my head. I need to figure out how to do the scheduled posts because it's the posting around 7 p.m. that is when I want to be spending time with my son. So I find that I throw a bottle of milk in his mouth and then quickly go and post. So I want to look into the scheduling so that I can do that during the day and have the evenings as family time. So maybe that's something.
Yeah, I made a mental note to talk to you about it off air. So I'm glad that you brought it up.
Told you we're in sync.
Yeah.
No, I've definitely got to look into that. But I've already implemented so many things to give back to myself. So that's just one of the other things to do. But
yeah, the other one is your diary planning. Let's work on that one.
Yes.
It's redefining success.
It's very sparse today because I'm like, I like to be present when I'm recording.
Yeah,
So
well.
yeah, no, absolutely. I'll link everything in the show notes, and especially I urge everyone, I'm sure you already have listened to your podcast or wake up call. It is fantastic for filling up your cup. Yeah, so everyone jump on the show notes to find other links. And thank you so much for just how much knowledge and just authenticity you shared with the community today.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Go fill up your cup with abundance and pour from joy.
Perfect. And everyone, please do something in the next week to fill up your cup.